beautiful evening. A little rain out there, but we appreciate everybody making the effort to show up even with the weather the way it is. We'll begin. Welcome to the community input session. This is a scheduled dual meeting. On November 15th, the Advisory Boundary Committee voted to bring 2 studies to the community for input, and this is that meeting. So we'll have the community input session first, and then immediately following, if we have a sufficient quorum, we will then commence the regular ABC meeting. But before we begin, we'd like to just go down the table and introduce ourselves. I would like to welcome a new staff member in our department, planning department. Patrick Sipple is a new demographer, brand new demographer. He comes from the Broward County School District, where he was also a demographer for about 15 years. So he comes with vast knowledge and experience. We're very happy to have Patrick on board. And I will begin. My name is Jason Link. I am Manager of School Enrollment and Demographics in the Planning Department.
And then she moved out to
Oh, and I'm Pat. You just mentioned.
Angela Santa Cruz, Support Tech Planning and Intergov.
Jim for Transportation Services.
Shane Sergeworth, Director of School District Transportation.
Jerry Nyman, IT Manager in Transportation.
Good evening, I'm Roseanne Brown. I am appointed to the Boundary Committee by Board Member Dr. Deborah Robinson.
Good evening, Cynthia Beckton. I'm appointed to the Boundary by the Superintendent.
Good evening, I'm Nellie Titcomb, and I'm appointed to the ABC Committee by Board Chairman Chuck Shaw.
Good evening, I'm Stephen Levin, Board Committee Member.
Steve Wallace, I was appointed by School Board Member Karen Brill. I live in West Boynton.
Okay. I'd also like to welcome, also in attendance is our School Board Member Erica Whitfield, District 4 School Board Representative. Welcome, Ms. Whitfield. Okay, we'll move on to the staff presentation, and then from there we'll begin the community input. So, why we're here, why we brought this forward. Highland Elementary is the second most overcrowded elementary school in the entire district. Currently sitting at 114% utilization with a capacity of 1,072 and an enrollment, of 1,224. So without us doing anything, Highland's projected enrollment pushes them to 115% utilization for next school year. The following year, 2021, they're projected at 117%. And then the following year, 21-22, projected at 119%, pushing 120% utilization, which is just extremely, that would be very crowded for a high school. And high schools better manage those large sizes, but for an elementary school, the school would be in danger of not being able to meet class size reduction. So we're here to avoid reaching those levels by not doing anything, and we're here to propose this attendance zone change to relieve Highland beginning next school year. So the school can better operate, better function, fewer children, and more operate based on the building it was designed for. Now, South Grade is the 4th most crowded elementary school in the district, and that's based on their what we call available capacity, meaning they've got their permanent capacity, but they also have 4 concretables on site, which we now count as part of their capacity. So their current enrollment is 868. Their available capacity is 803. The FISH, which is the permanent capacity, is 715. So that available capacity figure, they're at 108% utilization. So they're pushing 110. Once you hit 110, it becomes very difficult for an elementary school to manage. So their next 3 years projected, South Grade, 109% utilization. Again, this is available, counting those concretables. 109% in 1920, 2021 at 113%, and then 21-22, 117%. So they're also approaching the range of Highland. And South Grade also came in over projection this year, more than anticipated, more students than anticipated. So we've got two schools, very overcrowded. Projections have them continuing to grow, so if we don't do anything, it's just going to exacerbate the issue, the overcrowding the overcrowding at both those schools. So we're looking to relieve them at this point so the schools can better be utilized in future years. So what this proposal does, let me bring that up. The area in yellow is Highland Elementary's current attendance zone. So what we're proposing is moving a portion of SAC 201, and a SAC are geographic building blocks, so to speak, throughout the district. Each school has just their own separate, unique SACs. Each elementary, middle school has one unique SAC, and each school is comprised of multiple SACs. So we're looking, and they're usually, neighborhoods are within those SACs. The SACs avoid splitting developments and splitting neighborhoods. So typically, neighborhoods are clean, the entire development would be within a singular SAC. So we're looking at shifting a portion of SAC 201, which is this area circled in red. That's the entire SAC, but we're looking at moving the northern portion, which is this portion, which is north of the L11 canal to Palm Springs Elementary School, which is located with the red dot. So we're splitting the SACs. That northern portion of Highland would shift to Palm Springs. And then the southern portion of the SAC 201, this area, that's south of the L11 canal, would be proposed to shift to Barton Elementary, which is right here. So that would, in essence, relieve Highland next year of about 215 students that would shift between Barton and Palm Springs, and Highland's projected utilization. Now, these proposals all allow current fourth grade students and their siblings to remain at the school. So current fourth grader moving on to fifth grade would have the option to remain at their current school and their current siblings as well, because we know how hard it is just to transport kids. Imagine if you had siblings having to take them to two elementary schools. We recognize that, so their siblings can remain as well. But with that change, Highland would be projected at 95% utilization. So instead of 115, they would be at 95% utilization with this change. And then the following year, they would be projected at 92% utilization. Now the fourth graders have matriculated out. You've got the entire K-5 area now out in that change area, so the utilization would be at 92%. And then the following year, SY 21-22, Highland is at 93% instead of the 119% that's projected if nothing is done. So in association with this, we're also relieving South Grade. And South Grade is the attendance zone in this purplish color. There, the school location right here, circled in red. The area we're proposing to move is this sort of polka dot area right here. That's SAC 214B, but this is a very large SAC. There are a large number of students in that SAC. So we couldn't move the entire SAC. That would then under-enroll South Grade. It's just a tremendous number of students that reside in that SAC. So we've split that SAC as well. And the proposal is to move the southern portion of SAC 214B, which is the area located south of 3rd Avenue South. We'll put on this map. This is the area in purple. So it's 3rd Avenue South is the northern boundary. That's where this cutoff is. I think that's the FEC Railroad is the eastern boundary, so students are not crossing the railroad to attend Barton. They're all west of the railroad tracks. And then 6th Avenue South, which is the southernmost portion of the South Grade zone, is the southern boundary, and then I-95 is this western portion. So this area is proposed to move to Barton, and the blue area remains zoned to South grade, so those students aren't projected to miss. So why are we looking at Barton? Well, Barton is currently about 60% utilized. So the school's capacity is about 1,400, and next year they're projected to enroll 835 students. So that's 60% utilization. So we've got a lot of space at Barton available. So we've got two very critically overcrowded schools just north of it, and we have an awful lot of seats sitting at Barton. So the decision was made to let's utilize capacity as best as we can across the district henceforth. Barton is it's a local neighborhood school also in Lake Worth. So that was the determination to shift students to Barton. Palm Springs, they're currently, without any change next year, they would be 82%, so they also have space. So with this change, we are adding some students to Palm Springs, so we'll better fill up that school as well. But in regards to South grade, the projections are without a change, 109% of available capacity. With this change, South grade would be 87% of available capacity in year 1, year 2, 88%, year 3, 90%. And that would allow future growth in the school. Their fish capacity would be 98, 99, 102. Again, we're looking at available, taking into account their 4 concretables. Barton would be better utilized without any change. Barton is projected at 60 next year, 59% the following year, and in SY 21-22, 58%. With this change, Barton would be then at 79%, 82%, and 83% utilized. So better utilized school in that regards. And then Palm Springs would be at 93% projected next year, 94% in SY 2021, and 94% in SY 21-22, compared to 82%, 81%, 81%. So we're better utilizing all of those surrounding schools with the primary effort to relieve Highland and South grade, because we cannot allow those schools to continue on the trajectory that they currently are. Both those schools have been experiencing tremendous growth, and we need a solution. At this point is this attendance zone proposal, change proposal. Now we'll look at, in terms of distance. So currently, the portion that's moving from Highland to Barton, that southern portion of SAC 201, their current drive time to, the current distance to Highland is currently 2.3 miles. With this proposal, it would add about 0.7 of a mile, so it would be, and then this is taken from the center of those change areas, so on average. So we're looking at about a 3, so they're already transported to Highland, that area, so it would add about 0.7 of a mile, be about 3 miles on average away. The area from Highland to Palm Springs is currently 1.8 miles to Highland. That would reduce that distance by about 0.8 of a mile to about exactly 1 mile to Palm Springs. But that there is Congress Avenue would be one of those roads to cross, so our transportation staff would need to. Now, if you are within 2 miles of a school, the state statute is, where transportation isn't provided unless there's a circumstance such as a hazardous walk zone condition where we require a child to cross a dangerous intersection, dangerous road, railroad tracks, canals, et cetera. Then our transportation staff analyzes and assesses that situation, determines if it's a hazardous walk zone, and if it's within 2 miles, they'll make that judgment and then determine if they will provide a bus for those students, even though if they're under 2 miles. So they would make that assessment in this case. And then the area from South grade to Barton, currently it's about a mile to South grade. With the change, it adds about 0.3 of a mile, so it would become 1.3. So they're within walking distance. They would still be within walking distance to Barton, but 1.3 instead of 1 mile. Really isn't much of an effect on the feeder patterns. Feeder patterns remain pretty much the same. Just the percentages change. So Barton still feeds to Lake Worth and Lantana. It said Highland is still 100% feeder to Lake Worth Middle. Palm Springs is still split between LC Swain and Lake Worth, but a larger percentage would then matriculate onto Lake Worth Middle, and South grade would still feed 100% to school where we are right now, Lake Worth Middle. And then we've got the walk zones. This is the walk zone for Barton and Green, and you can see the change area is this area right here. So that is within the Barton walk zone. It's that reddish area. Sort of a sloppy circle there, but it's that portion is the walk zone. So that is within the walk zone of Barton. We'll quickly move on to, this is the Highland walk zone. You can see this is the, you know, there's some areas, most areas are within the walk zone, some aren't. As we move on to Palm Springs, you can see all those areas will also be in the Palm Springs. There's Palm Springs. It's in all those areas. You know, the area proposed to move, this northern portion is within the Palm Springs walk zone. Again, it's Congress Avenue, which is right here. That's the determination. You know, transportation will make whether that's a hazardous walk zone condition.
Yes.
And then the last one is South grade, and there's the area proposed to move. It's walking distance to South grade, be walking distance to Barton. I did want to, so that's the proposal that was brought forward to the ABC November 15th, and the ABC voted to bring that to community input. In regards to input from the community, we haven't heard much directly. What we have heard are parent concerns. They've expressed those concerns primarily to the principals at Highland and South grade in regards to two programs at those schools. Both of those schools contain in-house dual language programs. So the principals have heard some of the parent concerns that if my child moves to Barton or Palm Springs, they will no longer be able to be enrolled in that dual language program because currently Barton does not have dual language, and currently Palm Springs does not have dual language, though Palm Springs is slated to receive a dual language in-house next year for the kindergarten and first grade only. And then each year they'll begin phasing in those additional grades. So there are other students within Highland that are in the dual language program above first grade, second, third, fourth graders. And the same with Barton. Barton, I was informed we could potentially add a program there, not for next fall, August 2019, but August 2020. So those are the concerns we've heard, and we were directed by leadership to examine the possibility of allowing any student currently enrolled at Highland and South grade that's enrolled in that dual language program to remain at Highland and South grade and finish up at those schools, and then just each year those students will phase out. So that's a analysis, you know, I've ran, and we'll provide that to leadership, and that programmatic decision will inevitably be made by leadership, and if this goes through, you know, the superintendent would inevitably make that recommendation to the school board. But just as a comparison, if the dual language, and that would be current K through third grade students, because the fourth can already remain, current K through third grade students were permitted, dual language students were permitted to remain at Highland. Instead of 95% next year, Highland would be 102%. Still less than 114, but a little over 100. The following year, instead of 92, Highland would be 98. And then the third year, instead of 93, Highland would be 97. So just as those students phase out, the numbers would gradually come down. But if we allow them to stay, the numbers would be more elevated than the study indicates. And for South grade, instead of the 87% available utilization that I previously mentioned, if the dual language students are permitted to remain, South grade would then jump to 92%. Instead of 88% for 2021, they would be 92%, and instead of 90% for 21-22, they would be 93%. So increases South grade's numbers, not as many in South grade as Highland. And then for Barton, instead of 79%, their numbers would drop to 74% for next year. Instead of 82% for 2021, they would come down to 77. And for 21-22, instead of 83%, their utilization would be 79%. Palm Springs would be similar. They would drop about a utilization for each of the 3 years. There aren't as many students affected. So that's, again, that's the ABC looks at capacity and the physical boundary changes, and they make that recommendation to the superintendent. So this would be a programmatic decision that would be, a district leadership determination to decide, we're okay with increasing those figures, allowing those dual language students to remain. So that's something leadership is exploring, examining, and they'll make the call to, either have those students move on with the other students in the proposed change, or allow them to remain and finish out their dual language at Highland or South grade. And I'll be real quick with you. I know we were doing a dual community input session here. There was one other proposal for a new development called Solsara. This is at Southern Boulevard and Jog Road. It's future development. There are no students moved in yet. The development is split by Jog Road, same development, but it's going to be split by Jog Road. 109 homes will inevitably be constructed. The elementary on the western portion is Pine Jog. The high school is Palm Beach Central for the eastern portion homes. The elementary is Melaleuca, and the high school is John I. Leonard. So this was brought to our attention by the developers. Looking at the criteria and policy, Melaleuca and John I. Leonard currently have more space. So we've decided the proposal is to consolidate this entire future Solsara development and shift the development into the Melaleuca zone. Okehili is the middle regardless, and the John I. Leonard zone. And we did provide some written comment from the developer in your packets. Did we also place that on the tables? We have hard copies of that? It's in the committee. Okay, so it's in your committee packet. We also emailed you the comments from the developer on that. If you haven't read it yet, feel free to read the comments. We also provided a resolution from the City of Lake Worth regarding the South grade, and from the City of Lake Worth Commission regarding the Highland and South grade proposal as well. That was included in your packets as well. So that covers the proposal, and then
You take one at a time. One at a time.
okay, sure. We'll commence with the community input. Oh, let's.
One at a time.
Okay.
We have 2 speaker cards thus far. If anybody else would like to speak, the speaker cards are on the 3rd table on this row. Feel free to fill out a card, bring them up, and we'll call your name. But for now, we've got 2 speakers.
Okay. It appears that there's only comment cards on Highland and South grade. Okay, Amari Hardy. Is it Amari Hardy?
I've been here since 5:30.
I'm sorry,
then,
I'm sorry, then
okay.
Please.
I just didn't want to step on her
No,
toes. Ma'am,
no, okay,
It's okay.
Okay, Pam Bergsma, 619 South K Street. I've had South Grade Elementary in my front yard for 45 years, so it's a major part of my life on South K Street. And I thought I was coming here, well, let's put it this way. I didn't realize I was coming here to commend the planning department. I thought I was coming here for another reason. I had been given misinformation. So everything that I was going to ask for is in your proposal. So I'd like to commend you. I think you've done a wonderful job. I would like to say that you should keep the dual language children. I'm glad you're recommending that to the staff, and I hope that they do that. I mean, what's another couple of years at this point to make those children comfortable and give them everything that they need so that they can succeed. But the only other thing I had a problem with was when you said you were taking some children out of the city of Lake Worth to Palm Springs. I understand why you have to do it, but back in the 1920s, When the fathers of Lake Worth put together their educational system for the city, the main thing was that all children would walk to school safely and not have to leave the city limits. And that's why I'm so happy that you've taken children who were crossing railroad tracks and four-lane highways, and now you're making it much safer for them to get to school. So that was very good. I'm just a little bit saddened that some of our children have to go to Palm Springs, but it is what it is, and they'll get a good education there as well. But thank you so much for taking the time to do this correctly. So I commend you.
Thank you for your feedback.
Did you bold her comments, please?
Thank you.
Yes,
Hi.
sir.
Awesome. I'm Commissioner Omari Hardy. I got the chance to watch you guys work about a month ago. I was very pleased with the work that you guys did, and I came here expecting to throw myself in front of a truck or a thronging crowd. I was looking for that thrill. I'm not going to be able to get it today, it appears. But one of the things that I like about what you guys are doing is that basically every single child benefits, right? Because every single child will have the opportunity to, for the first time, since they've probably been in elementary school, attend a school that's not overcrowded. I think that's a benefit, even for the children who have a longer commute from that southern SAC out to the west to Barton. They'll still have the opportunity to experience education at a school that's not overcrowded. And some kids are even going to have a shorter commute, and they're going to attend a school that's more of a community school for them, which would be Palm Springs Elementary. I just want to say that I really appreciate the fact that this board has the ability to affect conversations that go beyond education, right? Because I got interested in this because some of our residents felt as if we had to choose between 85 units of quality housing that people can afford and schools that are good and schools that are not overcrowded. And by being responsive and by being intelligently responsive, what this board is saying is that we can trust this process, right? And that cities don't have to choose between housing and choose between good schools. I appreciate that. It's not going to get any better or easier for you guys. You know, we just found out that Florida gained 300,000 more residents, and they're not moving, as I said, to Liberty County. They're moving here to South Florida, they're moving to the Bay Area, they're moving to Jacksonville, and so we're going to have to continue to figure out how to accommodate more students, and I appreciate the fact that when I told my residents to trust this process and to believe in this process, that it was true, so I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. The last thing is a question, and it has to do with the projected enrollment at Highland Elementary. And it has to do with that in light of the Banyan Court development, which is right next door, which I think we've discussed. It is 85 units of affordable housing, and a lot of those units are 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom units. And my concern is that the projections might not reflect the true number of children that are going to be living in that development and going to Highland Elementary. I don't know if we can discuss that or if anything can be clarified, but how many kids, if you have it around you, or maybe you can get back to me later, do you expect to come out of that development? I understand there's a multiplier or something that you guys apply to go to that school. And thank you guys so much for your work. I appreciate it.
You have comments, Jason?
Right. Right, we're aware of those 288 total new apartment units coming in the Highland Zone, the Banyan Court, then we've got the Adopt-A-Family, which is about 14, and then the Golden Roads, 189 units. So we do look at, we try to best project the timing of those units, and we do have a multiplier. I don't have the exact, worksheet with me. I mean, I can get back to you, but that would be factored in based on the timing. And the multiplier and the anticipated, timing as we think families begin to move in. So, yeah, this is a 3-year projection out. So, obviously as time goes on, but I'll be happy to take a look at that if you feel those numbers may be even higher. But yeah, I'll take a look at the multiplier and the timing on that. But yeah, I just don't have the worksheet right in front of me. But I am aware of it, and that's in my master spreadsheet, development spreadsheet. When I project all schools, I look at the development that's coming online. So, sometimes you have more kids than anticipate, sometimes you don't. That's sort of the demographer, determination there, but I'll double check the figures. Welcome.
We certainly do appreciate the fact that Lake Worth, the commission, is working with the school district and the boundaries. So this is an ongoing discussion, and that's great. Okay. Do you have anything else?
That should do it.
Okay, then, we didn't have any comments, community comments on Malaluka Elementary and John R. Leonard. There was no one from the community that presented a card. Okay? Take the meeting a minute. Take the meeting a minute.
I think the next step is in order to begin the regular ABC meeting, I'm not sure we have a sufficient quorum at this point in time. I'm counting 5 members, am I correct? Yes. And we would need 6, so may have been the product of the weather. We were anticipating more to show, so if by chance in a minute or so we have a member show, if not, what would we do? We did at least hold the community input portion. There isn't, a quorum is not required for that portion, so what we would do if we don't have another member show, we would schedule a regular ABC meeting not too long after the break, and then the ABC at that point would then make the official recommendation as to this study, either to recommend it to the superintendent or not, or revise it, et cetera. But in order to do that, we would need a sufficient quorum. I have a feeling the weather may have deterred some of our members from, it was pretty rough out there, so I'm happy we had 5 of our members brave the elements, but I'm assuming the elements may have played a role in us falling one short of our quorum. But if not, then we'll reschedule, it'll be in the boardroom, and we'll have that regular meeting at some point soon after the break.
Couple of good points that we have. One of them is that we have a community willing to work with us. We had positive comments, and we're on the right track, and that's in terms of the community, and that's where we want to be. Thank you so much for coming.
All right, so we'll get with the members, we'll send out available dates for the regular meeting in January. Thank you, everyone.